pitch, changing continents just to get from home to Earth. It connects Asia and Europe. Geographically, Turkey has always been a place full of political tension. And yet, within this map, people of different cultures, ethnicities, religions, languages, and ideas all travel together on the same page. And that, to me, is something truly beautiful. I wanted to begin by talking about the place I live, because I'm living the now in Istanbul. We all move along timeline in the world and society we live in, and that line is almost never straight. Usually it looks like this, up and down. And recently it's been more like this, very curly, and often noted. I deeply believe these periods are temporary. As a communication designer, I'm on a timeline where I try to move forward by patiently untying the knots. And now I'm going to share the stories behind a few of my projects. What they have in common is that they all got caught in similar knots of this period. One of them was the seventh continent. The term seventh continent refers to the massive accumulation of plastic waste floating in the oceans. It was the theme of the Istanbul Biennial, addressing not only the global ecological crisis, but also the cultural, political, and aesthetic symbols of our time. The word continent always sounded to me as if there were living creatures on it. That's how I imagined it. The plastic continent with its plastic beings. Like this plastic mannequin, for example. But this one isn't imaginary, it's human-made. And in fact, it's a piece of plastic waste. By looking at these plastic figures displayed in shop windows, we somehow recreate ourselves through them. They look human, but their expressions are strange. Some look sad, some look cheerful, and most of them are overthinkers. That moment of eye contact, facing those human-made yet strangely thoughtful gazes, became the main idea behind the Biennial's communication campaign. And of course, not only humans, but plastic versions of every other living being. Plastic toys, decorative objects, endless replicas. All of this turned into a short film featuring the plastic characters of a life that itself has become plastic.
Trời.
With those plastic gazes became part of the outdoor campaign. They appeared across the city as the portraits of the seventh continent. Soon after, several municipalities cancelled the use of these visuals. Religiously, they were linked to supernatural figures. Politically, they were seen as a provocation related to an event that had occurred at the time. In short, the subject was completely disconnected from its context. The effort to seek a different and hidden message beneath conceptual expressions was, in fact, the political communication style of this period. Should we look at every opinion through the lens of critical thinking, or are some of them simply manipulative interventions? It's something I think about a lot. What's clear is that actions provoking such reactions eventually narrow the space for future discussions and new works. Everyone ends up carrying a kind of anxiety, a fear of being misunderstood. Here's another story. Tidy Up. It was a message and the concept I designed for a drawer organizer. This this was a product, it's usually used to store small and separate items. Socks, underwear, ties, accessories, and so on. I had a typographic idea in mind, one that suggested the answer lay in gathering things together. I was imagining a poster made of dozens of socks. This is from the photo shoot I did with those socks. It was pure therapy for me. In the end, it turned into this poster. Where is my new socks?
Wow.
This was going to be a poster series. The second typographic poster was going to feature colorful women's underwear. And that's how it turned into a poster. Where is my favorite tie? The project that was agreed to be made with underwear was cancelled before it was even completed. Because in the political climate of that time, a work featuring visible underwear was considered risky. It was absurd even to have that conversation. But here's what was critical. The work hadn't even been published yet. No one had warned or restricted the brand about it. The constant control of authority had turned into auto-control. And within the context of its time, we could clearly feel that the cycle created a kind of control-freak psychology. Another story, Fear and Fantasy Festival, the first horror film festival ever held in Turkey. I was going to design the identity for the festival. I started by designing the logo, the three F's of Fear, Fantasy, and Festival. This was completely a fun project. I imagined a visual identity built around the cliches of horror films and their art direction. And this story began with a small detail from the case study that introduced the visual identity. For that, I'd like to show you this video.
Fear and fantasy festival identity.
Films. They move us, they tickle us, tremble, amuse, shock us, and they follow us. A logo that interacts with its audience. A layout system which interacts the logo with the photography. Getting lined up, spreading out, shrinking, multiplying horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. The layout system exploited each medium according to its means, and it created a playful game on the festival's website. There is an intriguing relationship between human nature and the knife. It gives a sense of threat on first sight, yet it also gives a certain degree of pleasure. Why else would murderers stab their victim 50 times instead of 3 or 4? Why are there videos watched millions of times of knives just cutting ordinary things? The worlds of fear and fantasy are both embodied in the object of a knife. A series of films and posters were created as part of the corporate identity. The work captured different reactions, interpreting what fear and fantasy does to you. And the branding collateral. Business card, the neck-cutting paper, the pleasure-giving envelope, plastic folder, a whipping pencil, seductive ice cubes, and a garbage bag, you never know. And after all these, a sentence to express our feelings. What the
If we go back in the video, these scenes were filmed in a gasilhane, a place where those who have passed away are watched. It's a place we are familiar with, but not one we usually see in a humorous context. The fact that this place was used in a humorous context became a topic of debate in social media captions. People were talking about this more than the festival itself. At some point, the discussion had turned into, is this a sin or not? What we were witnessing was a complete loss of tolerance for humor, and this was just a small example. But some situations go beyond empathy, and when they repeat often enough, they turn into hardened hesitations. Despite all of these hesitations, I keep moving forward with the decisions I make. And each time, I try to learn how to keep doing it. The last story, A Good Neighbor. A Good Neighbor was the theme of the Istanbul Biennial. The concept of neighborliness was being questioned on individual, social, and even national levels. They asked me to design a poster to announce this theme. In Istanbul, houses for sale are usually advertised by hanging posters on their windows. They all share a very specific typography and layout. I had proposed to start the communication not from billboards, but from the windows of neighboring houses. Just like those for sale signs, but instead with questions asking what makes a good neighbor. Is a good neighbor someone who reads the same newspaper as you? Is a good neighbor someone who doesn't keep pets? Or someone who's homeless living on your street? Or someone who supports the same political party as you? Or maybe someone who's your friend on Instagram? There are many such questions, forming a dialogue from window to window. This pool of questions was formed by asking people from different neighborhoods. However, this institution was hesitant to use some of the questions openly because of the political climate. And many questions weren't asked. In the end, it became yet another case of auto-control. The good thing is, in a way, the form of communication itself had become provocative. Some neighbors began writing their own questions and hanging them on their windows. One of them is a good neighbor someone who worships in the same place as you. Another one is a good neighbor a man or a woman. And another one, am I a good neighbor? I interpret all of this as a kind of tolerance fatigue, awareness of the period we are living through, and yet I know that so many things in life are political. What we're able to say often emerges from what we cannot say. And somehow we keep searching and finding new ways to say what we want to express. Through design, we try to speak in our own language. And yes, the air can feel cold sometimes, but even in this time that carries the feeling of winter, I'm not waiting for summer with longing. Summer always returns. It's a cycle. And if there's the sun also tells us to enjoy the nice weather. Thank you.
Thank you so much.